name's Alex Mumbo, but I'm giving my presentation on behalf of our Vice Chancellor. Just briefly to talk about the ICT infrastructure at our university, the challenges and the way forward. Our history is not very old. Our university is 27 years old. ICT there is about 13. We began as IRM, but around 1999 we got involved in KENET. Around 2005 we changed name from IRM to ICT, and through the KENET collaboration we've been able to increase our bandwidth uptake. For example, now we are at main campus consuming about 45 megabits per second. I think when it comes to infrastructure, we've been able to upgrade our offices and labs. Currently, we have close to 4,300 computers within our offices and labs, and 4,000 internet data points. Again, that gap has been reducing, and that this is because of the collaboration that we have had these years. Again, looking at the computers in the various hands, we do have, specifically here, the laptops. These ones, majority of them are in the hands of students. You can see we have 2,100 laptops. These are the laptops that actually we've been registering in our hotspots. So in total, we do have about 6,400 of these units, including those in labs and offices. That is the desktops plus laptops. Our backbone connectivity, starting from the server room, is as shown here. We do have certain security measures that we have implemented. We have also tried to separate the various networks. We do have a separate student network, a separate administrative network, and also a separate finance network. We've also identified the various bottlenecks that are currently in existence, and we are trying to address this through upgrading of the various switches and network connections. This is a connectivity that has been made possible through the collaboration with Safaricom, and it is primarily serving finance. So we've managed to successfully separate finance activities from the administrative and also student activities. Then there are strategies which we are employing currently to improve connectivity and also the bandwidth uptake. First of all, I think we still do have high hopes that we'll be getting more hotspots through the assistance of KENET. And then again, we need to upgrade our switches so that at least the bandwidth is at least easily flows right up to the end user. We are also implementing end computing technology. This technology is going to help us in, one, conserving energy, and secondly, in also reducing on costs. Again, there are collaborations which we hope will continue. An example is the Wezesha, whereby students can actually own laptops. We hope that this is going to be extended also to the academic members of staff. Now, there are quite a number of information systems which we have established and are currently running. We have an e-learning portal platform. We have an automated library system, financial management information systems. These are the keywords, among others. Now, looking at the e-learning portal, I think the presenter from Nairobi University mentioned Chisimba. This is the same framework that we are using, and it has quite a number of advantages. And I think if institutions could pick up this, I think we would be collaborating much more and progress would be much faster. We also have a library information system. This is the ABCD, as I explained some 2 weeks ago. And this is also an open source system We are getting assistance from Brussels, that is Belgium, to install and run this system. And I think we have developed some capacity, key capacity. So this is an area also that we can collaborate in. We also, within the library, are using this space to digitize our content. And I think the librarian will also be able to explain more, Dr. Tanui, about the progress that Moi University has achieved with the DSpace. Again, we also have developed a human resource information system. This is also an open source solution with 8 modules, as you can see there. It is actually currently being, we are populating the data, and once that's done, we will be able to effectively deploy the various modules that have been developed. Again, we are also in the process of developing a student management information system. And this, first of all, we started by looking at the structure, how we are going to link up the various databases. And from there now we were able to see how the various modules will link up together. And I think with this, we have also developed certain capacities that will enable us manage the information systems in future. What are the lessons that we have learned? I think here you'll agree with me that information systems cannot work on their own. If we are to succeed, then we must first of all have infrastructure. And I think this was clearly spelled out in the earlier discussions. We also need to have training along, so that at least we complete that triangle of kind of interaction. What then can we do with KENET so that at least we are able to move forward? There is need for us to seriously think about the development of these wireless networks. If KENET could assist Moi University and maybe other institutions also in the development of hotspots, that would be really nice. And again, supporting the technical staff to train them on fiber and wireless technologies, improve reliability of the infrastructure on the ground, and also increase their presence on the ground. We need also to collaborate with member institutions on KENET needs to collaborate with member institutions such that now they don't have to be sending every time staff from the headquarters to the institutions to do routine maintenance. Again, there is need to support the sharing of learning and teaching resources. There is also the sponsorship of development of e-content, as we had earlier on, and again, assist the institutions to procure standard infrastructure. I think these are issues that have always cropped up, and I think this is the time now we need to take them seriously and really digest them. Then in conclusion, I think we need also to prepare ourselves for the future. I think we have had stories of situations whereby students in primary schools now are using tablets to access e-resources. When these students come to the university, at what state will they find us? I think we need to really seriously look at how we need to improve that situation, and seriously think about how we can share our minds in the cyberspace. We need to increase the level of integration to support the core business processes, provide real-time data facilities, and I think here KENET is playing a very important role. We need to pick up that and support KENET in its initiatives. Again, within the institutions, let's improve decision making. And with those few remarks, I conclude the presentation.
I think we've heard from the various institutions about their management information systems. Some have integrated systems, some have standalone systems. I think more are trying to move towards a more integrated system because there are a lot of advantages to having an integrated system. At USIU, we've had an integrated system for a number of years, and I'd just like to say that as we've gotten our system to be become, well, I shouldn't say this, as we have become more effective in using our system, one of the things that we have been able to do is to increase our percentage of collections. So over the last 3 terms, our collections have been anywhere from 96, 97 to 98%. So if you're looking at what percentage of collections you have, and are you getting all the tuition that is owed to you? One of the things I think vice chancellors really want to look at is it cost effective? And I think what I'm hearing is if you do have an integrated system, it begins to minimize the amount of work that people have to do. We don't have to hire additional people because of manual systems. So you reduce your cost and you can increase your revenues by having an effective MIS system. Now, whether it's a system that you buy off the shelf or a system that you develop, I think one of the things that we're hearing that's very important, particularly from the last presentation, is that it be an integrated system. Our particular system goes from the point of application to the point of graduation, and it integrates everything. As soon as a student registers, they know how much money they owe. And we know how much money they owe. And we've been very fortunate that our faculty have now started to assist us in making sure that students that they aren't able to see on their list are no longer in the classroom. So all of these things, I think it's everybody working together as you're looking at an MIS system. And I think the other thing we're hearing consistently across this presentation, these presentations as well as the earlier ones, is that training is oftentimes not enough. That to get people to change oftentimes require, as Professor Kiba says, is unfreezing change and refreezing behavior. He was asking about our system and how we're able to get people onto our e-learning platform, which is Blackboard. And we originally started out by training people, and we had about 20% of our classes that were online. So those reports would come to me and come to the DVCA. Then we started encouraging people to please get your courses online. Then we got up to about 35%. So then we started having a bit of competition between the schools, where we identified the various schools, what percentage they had, what the number of classes they were actually offering that term, and the number of classes that were online. So we go back and we might say, well, the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, you had 200 courses, but you only have 5 or 10 or 20 online. What's the problem? Then we went down to the individual faculty member level. So-and-so does not have a class online, but yet they want to go to a conference. I don't think so. You know, they haven't done their work. So there's some consequences. We no longer give alternate assignments for doing what is a part of your job. So our expectation is that the courses will be online. Now we're up to about 62% of our courses are online in any given term. Well, as of this term, it was 62%. Last term, it was 55%. But we send that information out every term. And we make sure the deans know who is and who is not up to par. And we're creating an interesting kind of competition. I hope it doesn't get too cutthroat before it ends. But one of the things we're working towards is to have 100% of all classes every term online. So I have dropped a hint, I don't know if Professor Chetty has heard it, that I think I'll only pay you for the courses that I can find online. So I haven't implemented that yet, but it's a definite threat at this point to make sure that people do put their courses online. So if you're supposed to be teaching 3 courses and you only have 2, maybe I'll just pay you for 2. So Dr. Chetty, would you get the word out? So there are a number of things I think that you can do, in terms of looking at creative ways to have your systems operating effectively for you. But first and foremost, because as private institutions, we don't get government funding, we have to make sure we collect our tuition. I think most private institutions are tuition driven. And so if we don't collect our tuition, we don't exist. And I think as you look at your systems, if they're helping you to become more efficient, to reduce your overhead costs, then you do have a good MIS system in place. But let me open it up for questions. I think why don't we take 3? There's one back here.
Thank you, Freda. As one of the VC that I highly respect here in Kenya. Mine is really not a question. Mine is a recommendation, which cover the first group and now the second group. We have no option, people. This is the future, and it's the area where our priority got to be right. If we have to transform education system in this country. I was fortunate enough to participate in what is called the South American Information Network in the late 90s, as I was living in the United States. The point is what South America, driven by Brazil, was to be able to compete with North America. And they could not compete with North America if their e-learning was lopsided. And so they invested a great deal of their national economic scale in this area. Now, we have the information presented with the first group, and now the second group bring us to practically to 4 issues. One is setting best practice, setting best strategic practice for e-learning and security. And the second one is practical way of rolling out plan, which includes sensitivity and issue of incentive like that. And the third thing is best practice of course containment, which we all need to be sensitive about. And the last one, of course, is resource support. I suggest, ladies and gentlemen, that by the time we complete this program, and with the help of KENET, we recommend a joint task force of public and private institutions to deal with formulating a very clear national policy, on e-learning and security issue. And the reason why I'm recommending this is I was a member of the task force on value system, and they opposed the idea of creating another commission. But I was voted out. They went ahead and suggested a commission to look at value system. The president vetoed the idea. They came back to me and said, now we want you to chair a group of 6 people to roll out another way of advising the president. What it is yesterday report. These commissions people have created are costing us 100 million a day. And the outcome is nothing. The people just sit around and talk and then get paid. This is the way for our education system, our education system, Commission of Education, to have a practical result that is going to help this country. So I recommend that KENET and others forward idea of a task force for us to move ahead and change. I exposed Rono, who is sitting here, who's the head of my ACT. I sent him to Harvard and MIT Case Western, and he came back a very different person. And he has had significant impact on our campus. And we have to do that with everybody. But we cannot do it with only a few people talking. We must have enough resources and commit to network so that we're not talking as silos, but we're talking jointly together. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. There's a question over here, and then one back there.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll make a brief comment on the ABCD library system. I know most of us have interacted with what we call online public access catalogs in our libraries, but this one is quite a unique one. Whereas we are used to a library system that manages records, this one does much more. So it does go beyond managing library routines. For example, it is web-based. It means we can connect to all other campuses of Moi University from a central place. You don't have to duplicate the databases in all the others and have them separate. It can be done from one location. The other thing is that it integrates all other types of materials beyond books, e-journals, and all that. That means it can handle multimedia, photographs, maps, archives, and all that. It's also used to integrate institutional repositories. We have in Moi what we call disk space that we use for handling our institutional repositories. The ABCD library system can handle that very, very effectively. It can also handle open access materials using Web 2.0. It can handle e-publishing materials, e-learning modules, and institutional memory such as archival materials. The library system can also connect to other databases direct, such as the UN databases, the World Bank databases, WHO, such as INARI and so forth. It can also assist in referencing formats, especially for students who are doing their theses or dissertations. That means it can help you know how to handle APA system, MLA, Harvard or Chicago, and all that is possible with the library system. The system is getting more popular. It's being used in Tanzania, especially Sokoine, Makerere, in Mozambique. The system came from Southern America, so it has been tested and proven to be working effectively. In Kenya, other institutions are beginning to use it. Mombasa Polytechnic, Narok are thinking of using it, Kabianga, Great Lakes University of Kisumu. So, Madam Chair, I'm saying the library management system we are using at Moi University is the latest state-of-the-art library management system. It goes beyond just telling you what books are in the library and where you can get them. It just manages a whole set of information and knowledge database in the university. I want to make a comment and say the integration of the various information systems in the university to add value if the library management system integrates with finance, human resources, students. I think it adds a lot of value. Therefore, I think I want to congratulate Catholic University of Eastern Africa for actually putting this on board as early as it is now. Thank you.
A nice comment over there.
Thank you. I wouldn't repeat what he has mentioned from Moi, so I will avoid that aspect. My comment is to do with the challenge of using integrated, that is, a database such as Oracle to help in the integration. I would propose that we try and use open source systems which work quite well, especially for medium-sized systems. PHP, MySQL, and others can offer you very good service if you don't have a very large data set to integrate. And coming to the issue of integration, I think Professor Brown has already explained the benefits. Let me just mention that what Baraton is doing, it might be is good, but I think it's for a quick fix. It's a quick fix solution. We used to be there at the University of Nairobi, where we had a payroll system. Everything was separate, and the systems were synonymous to the people who are running them. and there were very many problems with that. And we had to integrate because of validation of the data and integrity of the data. For example, you want to validate a student before he is given medical services. That student should have paid fees using the SMIS, so you integrate it with the university health services system. Finance system, you want to know if the staff member is in the human resource system before the staff member is given certain services, for example, online leave application. So I think integration is to go, but for a quick solution, maybe that helps. Finally, the issue of packaging of ERPs. I think this was mentioned by the Cabra BBC. We are actually doing a number of that. Very soon we will request those who are interested to partner with us in terms of purchasing them. We are packaging our various systems for the purpose of helping our institutions, because we've been receiving delegations to come and see what we do from some of you have been coming to us. And we therefore decided that we will repackage or package our systems and make them ERPs and resource projects for redeployment in other platforms which may not necessarily be as good as ours. Thank you.
Okay, we haven't really had any questions, but perhaps some of the panelists would like to respond to the comments.
Just the comments. I think what is coming out is very interesting because all of us are learning, and as institutions with the same interest of ensuring efficiency in our institutions. I think I want to concur with many of the speakers here. One of the challenges we found out, I may say here, is that some of us, and I'm sure most of us here who are supervising students, graduate students, we have a lot of issues in terms of availability of data, information. What studies have been done in Moi, and what studies are being done in Kenyatta University or USIU. And you find students are duplicating this. This is a challenge, and I hope we are going to be addressing this at some stage. Something very interesting, I saw on television a few weeks ago, primary schools in Narok, some primary schools in Narok, and somebody might have seen this, where kids are having tablets, standard 2, standard 3 kids, and are looking at the books, they are reading this, and when they go home, they don't have to carry books, they carry this at home, and they even gave a picture of a young man, a young boy, I think 12-year-old, in the field looking after his cattle, and he was reading his books on the tablet. This is a challenge, and this is something that I think we want to do in this country. Thank you.
Why don't we take 3 more questions, and then I know lunch is at 1, so we've got about 5 more minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I wanted to just make a comment and probably ask the universities which are here, to what extent do they allow people from other universities to access their library resources online? Particularly, I'm talking about graduate students who are doing their masters, their PhD, because like Professor Kibas is saying, this is a big particularly accessing research work that has been done at those universities. And I'm just wondering whether universities would be willing for KENET to play a role in enabling a seamless access by graduate students of library resources across our member institutions. Just wondering whether, I know there's a library consortium, and I don't know whether these issues have been discussed there.
Another question?
Can I answer?
Just let's ask the 3 questions first, and then we'll. Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. I'm directing this to Kampala University and Computing. Could you tell us briefly the merits and demerits and the potential of the cost reduction of adoption of this technology to improve the infrastructure?
One more question all the way in the back. Yeah.
I think my basic question is, how do we collaborate in actually developing ARPs for our common use? I'm aware Strathmore, for example, started using Kuwali, which a number of universities in the US came together, major universities to put together. And as just has been said, many of us are struggling either developing things on our own or seeking to purchase expensive off-the-shelf systems. And there's a lot of expertise here. If universities like Cornell, Indiana University, can see the wisdom to come together and do the quality project, how could we collaborate, perhaps using KENET as a platform to develop something or adapt something, maybe what Nairobi University uses or others, come together, develop that so that we can work together. I mean, the very fact, I think we have evidence of that, the very fact that we're now having $200 cheap, relatively cheap internet, shows the power of collaboration.
All right, with panels like panelists to address some of these issues.
Okay, I would want to say that some of the concerns, I think, for Baraton is a very unique experience, but our systems are integrated. Maybe it came out like we have all these things, running separately, but we are very much integrated, and we continue to integrate each and every activity that we are doing to our system. I would want to emphasize that what is coming out here is like we come here, we meet. I know I was here last year in my acting capacity. Now I come here. I think the social network that is there as institutions, and maybe the importance of us coming here as leaders, is that maybe at our individual universities we should emphasize this cooperation, that we want to cooperate and we want to collaborate and work together. Because it's not an issue of coming here and getting to hear what others are doing, but to me, I would really appreciate if we can talk of what do we unite to do in terms of these resources, because I don't think that there is an institution here which can say that financially they are sufficient. And it is a challenge to everybody, and I know together we can accomplish quite a lot. So for KENET, I think we want to look upon you to unite us. That which is in one institution, let it be shared, if not openly and willingly, but it can be shared by the members who have subscribed to be members of KENET. That way, I'm sure that even the challenges of changing attitudes and having people embrace, they will know that we are out to achieve greater things, not just to remain where we are, together as a team.
Okay, I'd like to respond to the question about end computing. Now, end computing, end computing is a company that makes a device, two main groups of devices that allow you to turn one computer into multiple stations. So you install a card on a computer, then you connect 4 terminals. So you turn one computer into 4 separate terminals. And now these 4 separate terminals are, how can I put it? They are just an extension of the computer, where you have one computer will give you 4 screens, 4 keyboards, and 4 mouse for input. Now, we have used end computing technology in some form since the late 1990s at Baraton. It's about 1999. That's when we started using end computing. Now, end computing is good for things that are not resource intensive, or for applications that do not require a lot of resources. Things like surfing the internet, like basic word processing. So for general labs, they are very good. But when it comes to specialized labs, especially IT labs, they fall a bit short on what they can do as a computing platform. So for normal general labs, it's a very good way of saving money. You just buy, because the whole thing will cost about 20,000 for the card and the modules. Then you buy a screen, a keyboard, and a mouse for each of those modules. So for that, you get, it's reasonably priced. But for IT-based courses or courses where you need to teach IT, they're a bit lacking in what they can do.
Right. Comment I want to make and respond to a question there about cost reduction. Really, we haven't worked on the cost reduction bit of it because we're just beginning. This is our first semester that we have gone into really using MIS in registration of courses, in using this even in many areas. And we'll yet to look at the end of the day, how much are we reducing, what percentage? And I can guarantee that there is, yes, because you can now become more efficient. We have found out that we can now get the information regarding the fees balances. Students can know what courses they have not finished and so on. So there is, at the end of the day, there will be quite a substantial amount of cost reduction. As I didn't mention earlier, the problem we have at Kabarak, one of the challenges is actually the fiber optic. It hasn't reached the campus. And what we call the last mile. And request KENET to assist in this. I'm sure we're not the only ones. There might be other campuses that have the same issues and so on. That with that, it will then improve our really being on the MIS stream. The other one is about how can we collaborate. You see, we appreciate what KENET is doing, and I like the theme for this year: transforming higher education. We are going to be transformed, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be transformed. We're going to talk about collaborating. We have the big brothers here and the big sisters, and we have younger ones. How can we work together so that we can learn from the bigger brothers and the bigger sisters, especially the younger, smaller institutions? And this is what we really I would want to suggest, I would appeal to all of us here. The question of sharing resources, the library resources, the current studies that are going on and so on. This is something that probably we would want to say that KENET bring us together as an umbrella. We can work together. Thank you.
I think the issue of accessing libraries online, with the new learning resource center, that would be the way at some levels, and I think KENET could be of help in having hubs at various levels in such libraries, which could help in terms of exchanging information. And I think people from my colleagues from the library, they can comment more about that, what the Catholic University will intend to do, and I think there was someone who wanted to respond on the same.
You want to finish your comments and then we'll let him respond.
Thank you.
Let him finish his comments and then you can respond.
Mine is just to add on to what my colleague from Baraton has said about computing. Here we find other advantages like power savings. We find, besides that, it's also easy to control access within computing. And again, there are reduced maintenance costs. I think from his description, it depends on the technology that you've employed. And I think at the moment in the market, we do have systems that are capable of handling even complicated research. And you know, it's a wide range, so it depends upon you, the user or the consumer, to pick on a technology, and I think for each you will find a usable system.
Mr. Talu?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm responding on the issue of how do we share resources at university libraries. First, we have a consortium that has helped us acquire e-resources and now e-books together very cheaply. Secondly, we have a partnership with the United Nations libraries, the World Bank, and all other universities. We have developed an MOU, and we have resolved that we shall make our libraries open for resource sharing. And we have developed a project which we are calling it Kenya Union Catalog. That means there will be connectivity to all the other universities and perhaps research institutions, including World Bank, UN, to share resources. And we have asked the National Council for Science and Technology to help us perfect this project so that we are able to share resources. We hope that this will be forthcoming very soon. So us as librarians, we have come forth and realized that it is important to share the resources we have in our libraries as public and institutions, including private universities. So we've gone that direction as partnership, as partners with the UN and World Bank. So we think that there's something happening. But over tea, I think I did talk to Professor Kashonda about how do we involve librarians in KENET to work on the issue of content.
I think that kind of, were there any other responses from the participants in terms of any of these issues? I saw one hand go up. Who was that a question? Yeah. Dr. Garner.
No, I think I can be heard. You know, I've been teaching several. Thank you. In terms of this issue of collaboration, I think KENET looks as if it's one issue that is coming through, that we need to think through on how to facilitate this collaboration between the institutions, and maybe that's part of the growing up. And it's also African. I think we must put ICT also in an African platform. The picture that comes to me is the way we were brought up. If you are an older brother or an older sister, you were carried on your back. And when I was looking at transforming higher education and now what we are talking, what I see is a sister carrying a brother at the bottom. You know, I'm trying to put this in an African situation. And I think that's what I see, that we need to carry each other. And my brother from Laikipia, I still remember your cry last year. Why should we allow that cry to continue? I think there are some benchmarks also I feel we need to put for KENET as our own organizations, that there are some issues we should not allow as KENET to continue. And that is by bringing the institutions that are facing challenges to where they want to be, and make it as a benchmark of our success as a member organization. I just thought from the cry that is coming here in terms of collaboration, we must also set benchmarks that if you are a member, this is where you have to reach, and we'll help you reach there as a commitment. Then we'll create a real force in terms of what we are saying being world class. We can't be world class if it's only one institution. We must pull all of us to say, by coming here, I was made to be world class. Thank you.
I think there's one last comment here, and then we'll close out.
Thank you very much. I'm Kafuli of Catholic University. First, I want to thank the different vice chancellors of various universities for the support they have accorded the Kenya Library and Information Service Consortium. Because at the end of the day, this consortium works for the universities, and it's one of your organs which can promote the uptake of ICT in your universities, especially in support of research and learning activities of in your institutions. Secondly, I would like to comment on what we are calling the LRC, Learning Resource Center concept we have at Catholic University. The idea was to bring together academic support services to the learning, teaching, and research. And therefore, it has components like a library, which we intended to be ICT enabled. At the end of the day, we want to install about 530 computers accessible by students. We'll also have wireless access and ICT or internet-enabled seating areas where those who have laptops can also access. The thing is, we didn't want to widen the digital gap by just saying only those who have laptops can access. Therefore, the cause to put the PCs there. Secondly, it has a multimedia center, which we hope or we plan to have it assist in educating our lecturers to transform them to use ICT in teaching. Again, it will also provide a platform for generation or creation of teaching media for e-learning purposes, for distance learning, and also to kind of consult for other institutions. Then we have e-conferencing. This is basically an academic activity that has to take place in a university. But of course, we are open to other conferences, but we want to have it in using modern technology, including video conferencing and also e-voting for those who have seminars, workshops that require voting and so on and so forth. Then finally, we have the Queer Press. We want to go beyond the print publishing that we've been doing in Kenya, but also do e-publishing, so that all what we publish it's also available online. The idea is we normally generate about 200 titles. The idea is now to make it available like any other publishing organ or publishing out in one. There are other components like bookshop, others like we have cafeteria to support the conference activities. Okay. We also now we have partnered with KENET, and we hope they will assist us as they settle they establish their app. We are also able to benefit the neighboring institution. Thank you very much.